King Charles, you've got to get her off that royal website. And I'm not even joking now, because Meghan Markle has now formally endorsed one of the biggest online trolls of Catherine, the Princess of Wales.
For years, Meghan Markle has publicly positioned herself as someone deeply concerned about online bullying, digital safety, and the impact social media can have on people's lives. She has spoken about the dangers of online abuse, appeared at events focused on protecting children from harmful online content, and repeatedly emphasized the need for greater responsibility in the digital world.
This is the care package to the notorious JTB. And trust me, Markle knows exactly what this man is all about.
But now, a surprising controversy has erupted that is leaving even some of her longtime critics stunned. The reason? A personal gift package reportedly sent by Meghan Markle to one of the most controversial anti-royal family voices on social media. The situation exploded after a well-known online commentator known as JTB publicly revealed that he had received a package from Meghan herself. According to his own post, the gift included a handwritten note from the Duchess, leaving him completely shocked by the gesture. His reaction immediately attracted attention.
And how despicable he is. So this was the boast from the notorious JTB, which has stunned everyone because Meghan's front is just unbelievable. The Duchess sent me a gift. I am not exaggerating when I say this was nowhere on my 2026 bingo card. Not ours, mate, either. She's lost it.
The Duchess sent me a gift, he wrote. I am not exaggerating when I say this was nowhere on my 2026 bingo card. Completely stunned, completely grateful. Thank you, Meghan. On its own, the gift might not have created much controversy, but the identity of the recipient changed everything, because JTB is not simply another fan account. He has spent years posting highly critical content about members of the royal family, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales.
She is endorsing them, and she is also then endorsing their vile behavior to continue, encouraging others to follow suit in hope they might get a phone call, they might get a free ticket, they might be invited to the Invictus Games, they might get a care package.
His social media activity has repeatedly sparked outrage among royal watchers, and many critics argue that some of his posts go far beyond commentary and cross into personal attacks. That is exactly why Meghan's reported gesture has ignited such a fierce backlash. And once people started looking more closely at JTB's online history, the situation became far more explosive. According to reports, JTB has frequently shared content mocking Catherine, criticizing her public appearances, and questioning her work within the royal family.
We have a ludicrous situation where a former member of the royal family who claims to be all about online welfare is now backing one of the biggest internet trolls of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. This is unsustainable.
One example cited by critics involved Catherine's return to public life following her cancer treatment. Around that period, JTB reportedly interacted with content claiming that becoming a future king, only to end up with the less talented wife, must be difficult. The comment generated immediate backlash due to its timing and because it targeted Catherine personally during an extremely sensitive period. Another post attracted criticism after a media outlet praised Catherine for confidently walking across muddy terrain in heels during a public engagement.
And just a reminder, this is one of the posts that the notorious JTB recently endorsed. Look, being a future king and ending up with the uglier, less talented wife must be a gut punch. That was quite soon after Catherine emerged following her cancer.
Rather than discussing the event itself, JTB reportedly responded by mocking her and reducing the moment to a personal insult. Critics argue that when a public figure known for campaigning against online abuse personally acknowledges someone with a long history of attacking others online, it inevitably raises questions. The discussion became even more heated because JTB's criticism has not been limited to Catherine. Over the years, he has also targeted several well-known royal commentators and supporters.
But if you don't believe that this guy is actually an out-and-out troll, I want to show you, and I've covered this on the show before, but it's important I remind you because this guy is a troll. He's not a commentator, he is a troll. Look at what he said about my beloved Lady Colin Campbell.
Talk about the corpse formerly known as Lady Colin Campbell, who speaks about Meghan and Harry with a level of rage that sounds like it's been fermenting since the 1800s. Every time she opens her mouth, you can practically hear the cobwebs shaking off her opinions.
Among those mentioned by critics are broadcaster Angela Levin, members of the Royal News Network community, and royal author Lady Colin Campbell. In one particularly controversial post, JTB launched into a lengthy attack against Lady Colin Campbell, criticizing her background, personality, and opinions in highly personal terms, rather than simply disagreeing with her views. As these examples resurfaced online, the focus quickly shifted away from the gift itself and toward a much larger question.
That is the man who Meghan Markle is sending a handwritten note to. Get her off! Get her off the royal family website. I've had enough.
How much does Meghan know about the people who defend her online? That question has followed her for years. As more details about JTB's online activity began circulating, the backlash surrounding Meghan's reported gift only intensified. The reason was simple. People were no longer discussing a random supporter of the Sussexes. They were discussing an individual whose social media history had already made him one of the most controversial figures in royal circles. Over the past several months, JTB has repeatedly shared or amplified content criticizing senior members of the royal family, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales.
Is barely able to survive the bullying and predation of the online world and the dangers that these platforms bring. How is a child? So speak up. Demand better from the platforms shaping our children's lives.
One of the most widely discussed examples emerged after Catherine gradually resumed public duties following her cancer treatment. At a time when much of the public conversation centered on her recovery and return to work, JTB reportedly interacted with content claiming that being a future king and ending up with the uglier and less talented wife must be difficult. The comment immediately sparked criticism because it wasn't aimed at Catherine's work, her charitable projects, or her public role. It was a direct personal attack. For many observers, the timing made it even worse. After spending months out of the spotlight while undergoing treatment, Catherine's return had generated a wave of public support.
Are your children proud of you supporting a bully who has gone after Princess Catherine and the royal family? This bully has also targeted royal supporters, and you're sending care packages? Stop lecturing about anti-bullying and stop supporting them.
Yet instead of focusing on her recovery or her return to royal duties, the conversation was suddenly dragged back into insults about her appearance and personal worth. The controversy did not stop there. In another example frequently cited by critics, JTB reacted to coverage of Catherine attending an engagement where she confidently crossed muddy ground while wearing heels. The media coverage was relatively lighthearted, focusing on her ability to navigate difficult terrain while maintaining composure during the engagement. JTB's response was very different. Rather than discussing the event itself, he reportedly mocked Catherine and dismissed the coverage entirely, reducing the moment to a joke at her expense. Again, critics argued that this was not political commentary, nor was it criticism of royal spending, royal policy, or constitutional issues. It was personal, and that distinction has become central to the debate now surrounding Meghan's reported gesture.
When are people going to wake up? She is endorsing the Sussex squad, but this is the biggest endorsement yet.
The concerns extend beyond Catherine herself. According to multiple critics, JTB has also directed attacks toward royal commentators, journalists, and content creators who have publicly criticized Meghan and Harry. Among those frequently mentioned is royal author and commentator Lady Colin Campbell. At one point, JTB reportedly published an extended post attacking Lady Colin Campbell personally rather than engaging with her arguments. The post mocked her background, questioned her motivations, and portrayed her criticism of Meghan and Harry as the product of bitterness and resentment. Whether people agree with Lady Colin Campbell or not was almost beside the point. The same pattern reportedly appeared in his treatment of other royal commentators.
And of course, more recently, you've got with Meghan going over to Australia, Zandy Sussex, the one that called herself the chief lieutenant. You know, she's absolutely vile and horrific and has done so many attacks on the Princess of
And
Wales.
she still may have been there, Tash.
And she still may have been there. And then, of course, you've now got this guy. This is three separate attempts, well, not attempts, three separate people that have proven that Meghan is not just aware of what the Sussex squad are doing. She is actively endorsing it. This is an encouragement to the rest of them to continue.
Individuals who regularly defend the royal family or criticize the Sussexes have often found themselves becoming targets of ridicule, mockery, or aggressive commentary online. For years, these conflicts largely remained confined to social media, but it is about what happened afterward. The controversy exploded precisely because JTB publicly claimed that Meghan herself had reached out through a gift package and handwritten note. That transformed the entire discussion. Critics who had previously dismissed the connection between public figures and online fan communities suddenly began asking whether this was evidence of something much more direct. And that is where the story became particularly damaging, because JTB's views were not hidden. His posts were public. His criticisms of Catherine were public. His attacks on royal commentators were public. The debates surrounding his account were public, which naturally led to the question many critics began asking.
And I'm not shocked because we've known about it for some time, but I'm shocked that she has been so blatant about it. But of course, she is being blatant because she and Harry believe they're untouchable because the king still has not taken any action to remove them from that website. There's been no further discussions about Harry's dukedom being taken.
If ordinary royal watchers were already aware of his reputation, how could Meghan's team not have known? That question remains at the center of the controversy. The more people examined JTB's posting history, the harder it became for critics to believe that the attention he received was accidental. And for Meghan, the timing could hardly be worse. Instead of generating headlines about her latest projects or charitable work, discussion has become dominated by accusations that she has rewarded one of the internet's most aggressive critics of the royal family. Whether those accusations are fair or not, the damage was already done. The story had escaped social media and entered mainstream royal coverage. And once that happens, controversies rarely disappear quickly. The controversy surrounding JTB would already be significant on its own.
Well, for years, Meghan has claimed she doesn't read social media and isn't aware of the conversations happening online about her. Yet somehow, she managed to find one of the most hateful anti-royal family accounts on X, send a gift, and include a personal handwritten note. Quite the miracle.
But for many royal observers, the real problem lies in what Meghan Markle has said publicly over the years. Because this is where the story becomes far more complicated. For a long time, Meghan has presented herself as one of the most outspoken public figures on the issue of online harm. She has spoken repeatedly about the dangers of social media, the impact of online abuse, and the responsibility people have when interacting on digital platforms. Those statements are not difficult to find. In recent years, Meghan has participated in discussions focused on protecting children online and addressing the growing concerns surrounding cyberbullying. During one speech, she spoke emotionally about the need to create a safer online environment and encourage people to think carefully about their actions on social media. She argued that adults often struggle with online abuse and harassment, raising concerns about how much more vulnerable children can be in the same environment.
He replied, LMAO, I can't. They've really reduced her to a bimbo with heels.
The message was clear. Social media behavior matters. The content people share matters. The people they support matter. And the choices individuals make online can have real-world consequences. Because of those public statements, critics argued that the JTB controversy cannot simply be brushed aside as an insignificant misunderstanding. The issue is not that Meghan sent a package. The issue is that the recipient had already built a public reputation through attacks on members of the royal family and their supporters. That is why critics immediately began comparing Meghan's anti-bullying messages with the growing list of controversial posts associated with JTB. Several royal commentators were quick to react. One critic publicly questioned whether Meghan's own children would be proud to see her supporting someone accused of targeting Catherine and other members of the royal family online. Others argued that public figures cannot continue speaking about kindness and online responsibility while appearing to reward individuals accused of doing the opposite. The criticism was harsh.
So now they're emboldened. They have gone against everything that was decided at the Sandringham Agreement. They have gone against everything that they promised Queen Elizabeth they wouldn't do, and they are blatant about it. And yet still nothing seems to get done. But this is bullying. This is encouraging people to bully Catherine.
But it reflected a frustration that has existed within royal circles for years. For a long time, some critics have claimed that Meghan benefits from aggressive online support while simultaneously maintaining distance from the people providing it. Whenever controversial Sussex supporting accounts become involved in online disputes, defenders often argue that Meghan cannot control what strangers say on the internet. Technically, that is true. However, critics now argue that the JTB situation feels fundamentally different. This was not a random supporter posting comments into the void. This was someone who publicly announced receiving a gift and handwritten note from Meghan herself. That personal connection changed the conversation completely. Suddenly, critics no longer saw this as passive awareness. They saw it as active acknowledgement. And once that perception took hold, older controversies quickly resurfaced.
Meghan knows exactly who is attacking William, Catherine, Charles, Camilla, and the royal family on her behalf, as the Sussex squad. The only difference is that now she's not just aware of it, she's rewarding it.
Royal commentators began revisiting previous incidents involving prominent Sussex supporters who later appeared to receive special access, public recognition, or personal interactions connected to Harry and Meghan. To critics, the pattern looked increasingly familiar. Each individual case could perhaps be explained away on its own. But when viewed together, some began asking whether these were really isolated incidents at all. That question only grew louder as discussions spread across royal media. Yet they did not stop the controversy from growing. The reason is simple. JTB was not an obscure account with a hidden history. The comments that sparked outrage had been public. The criticism of Catherine had been public. The attacks on royal commentators had been public. And because those posts were public, critics found it difficult to believe that nobody involved was aware of the account's reputation. Regardless of where people stand on Meghan Markle, one thing is clear. This debate is no longer about a gift. It is about whether actions and public messaging truly match. And that is a discussion that shows no sign of disappearing anytime soon.
When Meghan and Prince Harry celebrated 8 years of marriage, on May the 19th, JTB reacted to the Duchess's previously unseen photograph of the couple sharing a kiss during their reception in a TikTok video. JTB said the black and white image is one of the sexiest wedding photos ever taken. In the clip that was captioned, the chemistry between Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is undeniable.
As the backlash continued to grow, royal commentators began pointing out something else that made the JTB controversy difficult to dismiss as a one-off incident. According to critics, this is not the first time a highly controversial Sussex supporter has appeared to receive attention, recognition, or access connected to Meghan and Harry. And that is where the story takes another dramatic turn. Because when observers started revisiting previous incidents, they found a series of examples that critics say paint a much bigger picture. One of the most frequently mentioned cases involved a social media account known as Henry's Cousin. Several years ago, Harry and Meghan reportedly made personal contact with the account, which was already well known within royal social media circles. At the time, the account had attracted significant controversy due to its online behavior and aggressive interactions with critics of the Sussexes.
Once you could say it might have been a mistake, although this troll was so vile and so disgusting with their attacks that they did on people, against people's children, all sorts of things, that everybody knew about them. You wouldn't even have to search deeply on Twitter to find this person, but Harry and Meghan didn't know about it, and they gave this person a personal phone call.
According to royal commentators who followed the situation closely, the account's reputation was hardly a secret. The criticism directed toward other users was visible. The disputes were public. The arguments were ongoing. That is why some critics were stunned when reports emerged suggesting that Harry and Meghan had personally reached out. For critics, the incident raised an uncomfortable question. If the controversial behavior was already publicly visible, how did nobody notice it before making contact? Then another controversy arrived, this time involving a supporter known online as Zandy Sussex. The account became notorious among royal watchers for posting highly critical content about members of the royal family, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales. Over time, the account gained a reputation as one of the most vocal Sussex-supporting voices online. That alone was not unusual. The controversy emerged because critics alleged that despite the account's history of aggressive attacks, it still appeared to enjoy unusual proximity to Sussex-related events.
Because she knows what it means to be royal, okay? And trust me, the fact that she is royal and she doesn't back internet trolls means that she had thousands of people turning up on the streets of Italy. Meghan Markle had 10.
The situation fueled even more accusations that problematic online behavior was being overlooked as long as the target happened to be a critic of Meghan and Harry. Then came perhaps the most controversial name of all, Christopher Bouzy. For years, Bouzy has been one of the most polarizing figures in royal discussions online. He later appeared in Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary. That appearance immediately reignited debates that had already been simmering for years. Critics argued that the inclusion of such a controversial figure reinforced their belief that Harry and Meghan were far more connected to certain online supporters than they publicly acknowledged. What makes the current situation different is that critics no longer see these incidents as separate stories. Instead, they are increasingly being discussed as parts of the same pattern. A controversial supporter receives attention. Questions are raised. Defenders insist there is no connection. Then another similar controversy emerges. And another. Whether that interpretation is fair remains heavily disputed, but it explains why the reaction to the JTB story has been so intense.
In the past 6 months, JTB has endorsed creators calling out the Princess of Wales' mediocrity and taking aim at the royal family while spending hundreds of dollars on products from As Ever, including over $200 on an order of wine. I mean, what a loser.
The Sussexes have repeatedly spoken about compassion. They have spoken about responsible online behavior. They have spoken about the importance of combating digital harassment. Yet critics argue that controversies involving certain online supporters continue appearing with remarkable consistency. The result is a growing credibility problem, not because everyone agrees with the criticism. Far from it, but because every new controversy encourages people to revisit the old ones. And once people begin connecting those dots, the discussion expands far beyond any single event. That is exactly what is happening now. What began as a social media post about a gift package has evolved into a broader debate about influence, accountability, and the relationship between public figures and the online communities that defend them. For Meghan Markle, that may prove to be the most difficult part of the entire controversy, because scandals involving one supporter eventually fade. Questions about a pattern are much harder to make disappear. The center of all of this is a question that continues to divide royal watchers. Was this simply a harmless gesture toward a supporter? Or was it something much more significant? There is no dispute that Meghan Markle has every right to thank people who support her. Public figures receive encouragement from supporters every day, and there is nothing unusual about expressing appreciation.
Shame on you, Meghan. You're as disgusting as they get.
What has made this story so controversial is the identity of the person who received that appreciation. Because JTB was not an unknown account. His opinions were public. His posts were public. His criticism of Catherine, Princess of Wales, was public. His attacks on royal commentators were public. And that is why the reaction has been so intense. For critics, the controversy is not really about a gift package at all. It is about what that gesture appears to represent. They argue that when someone who regularly speaks about online responsibility and anti-bullying efforts publicly acknowledges a figure associated with personal attacks and online hostility, it sends a confusing message. Supporters, however, see the situation differently. They argue that Meghan cannot be held responsible for every opinion expressed by people who support her. They believe critics are reading far too much into a simple act of gratitude and turning it into a much larger controversy than it deserves to be. That disagreement is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. But regardless of which side people choose, one thing is undeniable. The story has reignited questions that have followed Meghan for years. Questions about the Sussex squad, questions about controversial online supporters, questions about who receives access, recognition, and acknowledgement, and questions about whether public messaging always aligns with private actions. For now, there are far more questions than answers. But what started as a single social media post has grown into one of the biggest royal debates of the week. And with every new reaction, every resurfaced post, and every fresh accusation, the controversy continues to gain momentum. The royal family may not publicly respond. Meghan herself may never address the criticism directly, but the conversation is already happening. And judging by the intensity of the reaction, it is a conversation that is far from over. Because in the world of royal drama, perception often matters just as much as reality. And right now, the perception surrounding this controversy is creating headlines around the world. The only question is what happens next. Subscribe to Crown Clash to find out.